every person that's ever played video games has a list of titles that they consider to be the best of all time. The types of games that you would hype up to your dying breath, trying to convince anyone that will listen into booting it up and playing it until completion. These lists will always vary from person to person, though they'll usually feature some of the same popular titles that are already wildly known as being very good. I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about a game that's on my own personal list, one that not many people are talking about these days, a game that, while far from perfect, did something that no other game had done before. That game is Mirror's Edge was released by DICE in 2008. Up until this point, DICE was almost exclusively known for their work on the Battlefield games, but they wanted to do something different with their upcoming title. During the 2000s, the ideas of first person and shooter were almost always synonymous. Basically, if your game was first person, you had a gun and you were shooting people. DICE wanted to do something different with Mirror's Edge. Producer Nick Shannon said in an interview with game developer, "I love the idea of first person not as a genre, but simply as a design choice." So, they decided to make a parkour game. The idea of running and jumping around had been a staple of gaming for decades at this point, but it was almost always in third person. Additionally, platformer games typically didn't give too much thought about making their movement believable, rather opting to just have your character bounce like they had moon shoes and slip around like they were wearing rollerblades. Mirror's Edge not only wanted to redefine the first-person genre, but the platformer genre as well. What they came out with was nothing short of stunning. You're a runner named Faith, a courier of illegal information in a near-future authoritarian city where free speech and personal privacy are almost non-existent. Sure, the city is clean and mostly free of crime, but it's also occupied by a privately owned paramilitary organization that will open fire at you with little provocation. It's a good thing that nothing like that exists in real life. The dialogue can feel a bit cheesy at times, but it's never so over the top or in your face that it ends up ruining the mood. If you follow along with the story, you're able to piece together each character's backstory, personality, ideals, and habits. It's very show don't tell, which is something that I personally very appreciate when it comes to digital storytelling. Most of the game's story is told through stylized 2D animations that I find to be really cool. Speaking of style, Mirror's Edge has some of the best art direction that I've seen in any game by far. The city is a cold white that's only occasionally interrupted by splashes of solid, bold color. This color serves a gameplay function as well. Many objects will be a solid red. This is what the game refers to as runner vision, which is the runner's innate ability to see the flow and movement that exists only on the city's rooftops. While many modern games suffer from a yellow paint phenomena, where locations that the player needs to look out for are just splattered with yellow paint for no apparent reason, Mirror's Edge embraces its visual cues by baking them into the game's art style. It doesn't feel out of place for something to be a solid, bold red because so much of the game is already dominated by solid, bold colors. I'm not able to identify what it is off the top of my head, but I typically play it like 100 FOV. Not only do I think that's important because you can see what's happening side to side in this game, but being able to see what's happening vertically is also very important considering you're literally climbing stuff most of the game. The game has minimal inputs, but it still allows for a shocking amount of variety depending on what state the player is currently in. If you're sprinting, crouching will cause you to slide. If you're up against a ledge, jumping will cause you to mantle onto it. Movement in Mirror's Edge feels great, as it should. Most of the puzzle comes from finding new ways in order to navigate the map. Many areas in the game are open-ended in the way that they can be traversed in multiple different ways, which gives the game a shocking amount of replayability. As good as the movement is, the combat leaves a lot to be desired. While there are a handful of unique mechanics like disarming, landing on dudes, kicking them in the face, the game just isn't really built around combat. Picking up a gun removes almost all of your mobility, meaning that you can't really do any cool stuff as long as you're armed. In addition to that, it really isn't worth doing anything crazy flashy when it comes to combat, because you're usually just gonna disarm one dude, take his gun, and shoot the rest of the dudes in the level before running and continuing. No point risking your life doing something flashy when most of the time it just doesn't really work. In most cases, you're simply better off avoiding combat as much as possible.
Oh, we got a scar this time.
It's also, unfortunately, 17 years old and can be difficult to get running on modern hardware. I made the mistake of trying to run this game on Linux using Steam Proton, but I would often have issues with really bad frame rates.
My frames.
They're trying to surround you, Faith. Punch through to the plaza.
Okay, Bert, I'm working on it.
Oh god, it's so bad. It's so bad. It was also a hassle getting it to run on Windows, and eventually I had to disable the NVIDIA PhysX integration, which removed a lot of the fun physics details that you found around the game.
All the physics objects are gone. That's so lame.
If this game were to come out today and was released on modern hardware, I know for a fact that it would be almost perfect. But for now, I just have to give the game a pass for its old age. Please don't let any of the issues dissuade you from playing though. Please, boot it up and play it to completion. Yo, what's up? Post-production Kevin here. I just wanted to throw some stuff at the end of this video because there's a handful of things I wanted to say about the game that if I did end up putting in the part that I actually put a lot of effort into, it would have taken way too much time and I would not have been able to pump this out on time by the deadline. Basically, Mirror's Edge is a great game. It does a lot of things well. It did a lot of things well for the first time. Especially in the first-person genre, and that's what I think is the most important takeaway that you should have from this video. A lot of the mechanics that are in Mirror's Edge are in a lot of very popular first-person games nowadays. Of course, most of these games are shooters, so the movement mechanics maybe are a little bit secondary to the combat at times, but Mirror's Edge is still unique in the fact that the game is all about movement. It's not just a shooter game with good movement. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that every game after this that implements cool movement mechanics is just another generic quote-unquote movement shooter. I don't think most of them actually qualify as movement shooters, but overall, Mirror's Edge is just a great game. It just represents an era of game design that is really kind of like fallen by the wayside. You don't see that many episodic level-based games anymore that feel like you're more or less playing a movie and are intended to be replayed multiple times. If you ask my personal opinion, I think that the replay value of a lot of modern games has actually gone down simply because they just, rather than making the game fun to play over and over, they just add so much content that you'll do everything once, and that's usually about it. But yeah, overall this project was a lot of fun to work on. I think I paced myself properly. I'm not barely squeezing this out by the deadline, but, you know, it took a lot of work, and I don't think it bit off more than I could chew. I think it could probably be a lot better, but I'm always going to say that about everything that I make, because hindsight is 20/20, and, yeah, but that's just about it. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a good day, and give me a good grade. Did you just shoot the rat? What? Huh? What just happened?